we really got we got a lot of feedback from you, and we take that feedback very seriously. Of course, we have also gotten a lot of suggestions in terms of next topics, and we are going to seriously consider that, because we always want to tailor our trainings towards our participants' needs. So for those who may have not attended the last session, just a bit of guidelines for all of us. Make sure you mute you're not talking. And also, if you want to say something, you could raise up your hand with the function down there, or you can put on the chat box. My colleague Ross will be monitoring the chat box, and time and again would be responding to your questions. We encourage you to engage actively with the presenter. Be precise when you're asking questions so that we can be able to do a lot. We also encourage that you be respectful to your colleagues.
Sule, I think you have lost you or myself. Ross, can you hear Sule?
Hi, no, I can't hear him. Still showing that Sule has started sharing screen. I think he has network issues.
Yeah, all right. I think, yeah, guys, I think good morning, everyone. Let's dive in. I don't know how many new folks who didn't attend last week, but you can catch up. This is a weekend data camp that we spend some hours during Saturday to just go through some methodology of research. And for last week and this week, the interest has been to talk about how to collect data electronically. As we move along, we shall be touching different aspects of research methodology, from design to execution to later on data analysis, visualization, using different software that is available, and sort of like the principles of, if you want to do a research, if you want to do evaluation, what do you consider? What are some of the things that you should pay attention to in terms of design, so that your methods are replicatable and follow scientific rigor and robust. So I think that is the idea, that with time, all of us would be researchers. I think people who are interested in research, we want to share some of the skills and tricks and tips here and there. But this is not all from us. I think anyone who is joining, we are going to learn from each other. We usually provide opportunities to share. You may not know everything, but like this is where we share our ideas together, and build a research community within South Sudan. So Sule, we lost you, but we just like, I don't know if there's any other thing you wanted to add, but
Yeah.
we just
Sorry.
dive
Yes,
in.
I lost my connection, and thank you for taking on, Kemish. I think that's all. I just want to let colleagues know that at the end of this session, we will share a survey. Please endeavor to complete it, so that we can keep track, but also be able to get your honest opinion about our trainings, and also like give a suggestion on what you really want next. So our presenter today will be Dr. Kemish Kenneth, a data expert. So he would be walking us through part 2 of the KoBo, a continuation from our previous session. So please kindly pay attention. We're hoping that you've all opened accounts. That will make it easier for you, Kemish. Thank you so much for walking us through today. Over to you.
Thank you, Sule. All right. I think last week we did go through just also a caveat that we are not going to give everything that you need to know about the topics that we are going to touch. And I think after here, probably you would have gotten enough motivation and excitement to go and also research. So what for the KoBo, what I'm trying to provide is what you would need to do 90% of your projects, right? So if you have sort of complicated project or very nuanced projects as well, those are some things you can go and research and do more. So it takes a lot of time to go through this. So we have only 1 hour last week, I think 1.5, maybe today 1.5 as well. So we won't be able to cover everything. And I think this will be the last session for KoBo, and then you would have gotten enough of the basics, and then you can go and dive and research other things. These days with the digital world, a lot of resources are out there if you want to. So I think next we shall dive other areas of research and methodology. So last week we did look through quick things like basics. What are sort of like the examples of other tools out there, and why KoBo? Why do people mostly use KoBo? I wouldn't use the word but it fits out in sort of like your projects differ. So some people prefer like ComCare or ODCare or RedCap, depending on your project. If you're doing clinical research, you're doing public health research and stuff like that, it depends on each tool is sort of like has its advantages and limitations. So we made the case of why KoBo. Then how do you start off by creating an account? It requires an account, so that means you need to create one before you can start using it. Once you have done that, it's just then is you start building your questionnaire. But KoBo is a tool that facilitates your work. It doesn't do the work for you. So that means thinking through your research, thinking through your evaluation is something that you do as a researcher. You have to sit down, think through your questions, your tools, and whatnot. Then you just enter it into KoBo. The KoBo will just is a medium through which you can facilitate the data collection and management of that process of data collection. So then you start building a tool, your form or project, whichever you want to call it. Building, you can build it online or you can build it outside. That means you can build it using Excel form, a simple Excel form. Then you can upload it into the system. So those are the two ways in which you can build. So we looked at some of the question types that KoBo provides. On the left are what you may need most times. Over 90% of your projects, you just need these few, and then others probably on the right. These are some of the functions that provides how you can probably control the data collection to ensure that you have quality data. There's some inbuilt functions that helps you to do that. Then we started then looking at sort of like building sample questions, projects with questions, specifically looking at how do we implement sort of like the different functionality of KoBo. And this is just like taking an example of a project in a KoBo county. And then we did go through this, how you could do skip, logic, how you could control for sort of the number or the age, not to exceed certain number, for example, how you can do calculations within KoBo, how you can control the maximum of say 2 or 3 or 4 options that someone can select. if you want to control for that. That is very important. Sometimes you want to look at like a top two, top three of most of the most common things that your question would want to get. So then if you want to get information, repeated information for say household level, if you want to get like say the weight of all the household members or the height of all the household members, or you want to look at under 5 children, that may be many. How do you repeat that same question over and over until you exhaust the number of subjects or participants that you want to collect data on? So that is like the roster data, which is repeat. We can use an example of taking MWAC measurements and weight and height, anthropometric measurements of children. All right, I think that is where we had stopped. Yeah. So today we are going to look. This was last week, I think. Yeah. This is today. I know you guys talked about how do you build in some sort of quality assurance, like GPS to know where the data collectors would be by the time that they're collecting data. To ensure that like when they're collecting data, they are not in their rooms and like fill all the forms and submit without going to actual the households. So there are many ways of doing this, whether we said within KoBo itself, but also physically as a researcher, you may need to go out and supervise and see that the enumerators are actually doing the work, because even with GPS, somebody can just go into the households and just without doing anything, text the coordinates and move forward. Then there are some advanced validations, and we want to look today maybe how do we build projects using an Excel form. Then you can upload it into KoBo. Is easier, actually saves you time and helps you quickly build in some of the complex validations. Then we can go into, after building your form, what next, right? So how do you then go into the next step, which is starting the data collection? So how do you deploy the forms? How do you start the data collection? Maybe you yourself as a researcher, or you want to use enumerators. How do you manage if you're working as a team? Like maybe you're a team of M&Es. Maybe you have your M&E in Juba, but you also have M&E in Awil, in like Rumbek. You want to also engage them in all. How do you give them rights and ensure that like you work together while maintaining some sort of control over the project still? Then after you collect your data, how do you get this data out? You want to use SPSS, you want to use Stata, you want to use R, or to do your analysis, or even Excel just to see your analysis, your data that you've gotten. So that is sort of like what we shall do next. That, and then maybe the other things really you can go and explore yourselves. All right. Feel free to drop in any questions as we go along. Okay, so this is going to be more hands-on. So this is what we did last week, I think. This one, yeah. Yeah. This is what we did last week. This is what we started, the weekend data come, May 3rd, yes. We did add some questions here. I want to pick up from where we ended, and this was where we had the roster data. One of the things that I have not shown you is, in most cases, to ensure that there's completeness of data, you need to make most of your questions mandatory. To make questions mandatory is very simple. You just go to the question, you hover over the question itself, and then you come to this settings icon. Once you click on the setting icon, there are these options here, and there's this mandatory response. So what you do is just click the yes. So then this makes it mandatory, as simple as that. So that means the enumerator would not submit this form without answering that question. And if it's like multiple pages, they won't move to the next page or question without answering this. So depending on the sort of like display of your the questionnaire. So that makes it difficult for them to skip questions. So it's usually advisable that you make most questions mandatory, except if it is not applicable to everyone, in which case it makes it very difficult for enumerators to move to the next question. But if not everyone is supposed to answer it, that question, there's no need to make it mandatory. It actually impedes the process of data collection. So that is one thing I wanted to mention. Then there were some additional validations that we didn't talk about. One is, I think, which I wanted to show everyone, is that there are questions where you want to limit, say, the response. So, for example, if you're collecting data on households and you want to get probably the information on under 5 children, you're probably collecting data on SMART or some nutrition specific where or under 5s, right? So where under 5 is important. You want to sort of like limit, say, the age to 59 or below. How do you do that, right? So I think let's take this example if you want to say, okay, so we said if you want to add question, you just add on the plus. So, but now you see there are two pluses. So that is because we had created groups, a group of under 5 details here. So this is trying to tell you you want to add a question within the group that you have already created. Sule or Ross, maybe can you you have the rights or your host can mute. Yeah, super. All right. So there are two, you'll see two. So one is if you want to add within the group, or the outer one is when you want to add outside of the group. Okay, so this is like when you'll be developing, it will show this if you have done grouping. So I think now we want to add outside the group. And I want to say, what is your age, or what is the age of, you say, your child under 5. Okay, so this is going to be, as we said, this is going to be a number, because I think you're not going to have points unless you want your age not to be in full numbers. So completed month or completed years. So this, if you want to control that the answer to this, you're collecting answers only for under 5. You don't want it to be more than 59, for example, which of course will render it invalid, that observation. Then you create sort of a validation. When you come to the validation, you have seen that there are two validations, but if you come to this validation, it says this question will be valid only if the following conditions apply. One of the conditions is this question's response has to be, if you click down here, you'll see this a greater sign, but if you click on it, there are many other signs there. It is equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, stuff like that, right? So those mathematics connotations. So in this case, you want it to be less than or equal to be less than. So you just select that and then write here 59. So that means if the respondent is collecting data and put 60, it will refuse. So then you can say answer, and then gives you this answer to the respondent. Answer is out of range, something like that. So yeah, so that is one you can save. The second type is you want it to be, if you want the response to be between two numbers, right? So if you're only looking at children between 6 months to 59 months. So how do you do that? So this was, you wanted it to be below, so it can be 0, it can be 1, but it can be above 59. Okay, so what about if you want it to be between two numbers? So if you want this age, which is still same question, say for example, what is your age? And you want it to be between two numbers, you add condition, you go to this. You can do this manually, but I think let's go here for now. You add a condition. So you would add, you want it to be between 6 months to 59 months. So that means you want this to be less than or equal to 6 months, less than or equal to 6 months. All right, 6. And then you add a second condition here. So that this also should be, this should be greater than, okay, greater than or equal to 6 months. This should be less than or equal to 59. Okay. So then it asks you, do you want one of these conditions to be met, or you want both? Should match both, um, all the conditions. So it should match all the conditions. That the numbers that they are going to provide you should be between more than or equal to 6, but less than or equal to 59. Then you can write whatever message you want, error message you want to show. You want maybe just error. You want to show just error, for example, just error. So then the enumerators will see, okay, there's error. Then they read and probably think through during the training. Probably this is what you already discussed. Then they can go back and say, oh, okay, this number we are looking only at 6 to 59 months children, something like that. Okay, that's another one. So the other one is which I want to is, I think this one we need to go to the form, but these are the most common ones. Is this other one we need to go to the form? Then I think we could is easier on the form. Is that when you have questions, for example, and then you want you have options, and then you have a none, like livestock. Do you have any of these livestock? Cows, goats, sheep, donkey, and none. So that somebody can select that they have all the three. But in some cases, you find enumerators selecting none, but also they select sheep. So it becomes very difficult to interpret some of those responses. We can see that later when we go to the using the Excel form. The last that I wanted to show that we did not get to last time was if you want to do GPS, is the you just go to the GPS record. You go to record GPS. There's this they call it KoBo calls it point. That means is a point coordinate for a particular point that you either there or that you put. If you want to get for a line like road or something like that, you use this. You want to get the coordinates of a road. And later on, like you can map this up. Uh, think later on like GIS, stuff like that. And then if you want like an area plot of land, then you can do this. If you like a round area or a field, a playing field, you want to get the coordinates of a playing field. You use this, but most cases you would need, if you're doing households, you just need like a point where is that household located. You don't need to know the whole area of the household, something like that. So in most cases, you just use this point. Okay, and that's it. So usually when you go to the data collection, it shows you how to, you shall see that later. How then do you collect data on GPS? So every time that you do this, you then save. Because I think as we said, if you don't save and the power goes or something, you lose all your information. So you can also do preview every time you move forward, just to know that you're not making mistakes or everything is looking good the way you want. You just come to preview. Internet's not so good. Okay. Okay. So I think yeah, so we have the under 5, then we have this one we have added now, the age. The first one was less than 59. So if you do 60, if something happened there, we can check. Um, so mm, this is greater. Okay. Super. Sorry, that was mathematics issue. Okay. So I think the next one where I want just to work with you guys is how do you build uh, your form in Excel? So I think this should be fine now. If you 60, give you an error. Okay. So usually, if you want to build your form using an Excel, you start with. It's usually good to start with the form builder online, and then you will come to this three dots. When you come to the form, you come to three dots. Excuse me. And then you can download this as an Excel. There are many other things you can do when you come to these three dots, but I think for the interest now, you can download your project as an Excel form. So if you click on this, um, yeah, it is, you should download here. Let me open it. So this is the Excel format of the KoBo project. So it has three spreadsheets. One is labeled the survey. That means this is what appears, some of the things that appears on the when you're collecting on the tool itself, KoBo, when you're collecting using KoBo Collect. Then the choices are usually where you have multiple options. Either you have to select one or select many. The choices usually you put on a second spreadsheet, and it is labeled choices. And this is like settings that it generates automatically if there's something that you have done. So this is less important. So these are usually the two main sheets that you'll have. And then on the survey sheet, you usually you can have more than this, depending on what sort of validation or settings that you want to use. But the commonest, the main three is usually you will have the type. What is the type of the question that you are using? If it is a text, if it is a select one, this is where it goes. If it is a note, it goes on this column called type. And then the name is something that you won't see, but this is in the back end of your data, that stays in the back end of your data. So later on, when you download or you export your data, this is what you will see during the analysis when you're using your other softwares. This is what you will see, and in most cases, it has to be a continuous. If there are many words used, you have to use underscore to connect them. It has to be one unit. So there's without spaces between them. So that is the rule. So this, you can usually design it if you don't give the name, specific names for your data already. KoBo can try to generate from the question, from the label, from the question themselves. So you'll see here is like instruction to enumerator, da, 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 da. If there's so many, KoBo will try to cut it down. But when you're building it in Excel, your question in Excel, you have more control of this. You can decide to use shorter words. Later on, it's very helpful when you're doing your data analysis. People who have already done like data analysis before, they'll know the importance of this. So then the label is really the actual question, how you want it to appear. What is your name? How many females are in your household? And stuff like that all will appear here. And here you can use spaces the way you want. These three are the main one. If you have these three, you can now create a tool. But then because of internal control and calculations and constraints that you may want to add, you can add all these other additional columns. But these three are the basic columns that you need to create an Excel form or KoBo projects from Excel format. So then if required, this is the mandatory section. If you want a question to be mandatory, you write it true. So this, in this case, this enumerator name was mandatory. When it is false, it means that question is not mandatory. That means the enumerator can skip that question, but still go ahead and submit the form after filling. So in this case, there's very high risk of having incomplete data in submission. So in most cases, as we said, you may want to turn this into true. That means it is a required field. That means they cannot submit without completing that aspect. This is a calculation. So we saw that you can calculate, and we had a calculation in our project where we wanted to know the total number of household members by adding, I think our question was asking the number of females and asking the number of males. So we wanted to check how many people were there in total by adding these two together. So this is where you do your calculations, and we use the dollar sign and open curly bracket, stuff like that. And constraint, I think we had a constraint. One of the constraints that we just added was that the question about the age, when we were collecting data on under 5 children, we didn't want that question, that answer, the response, to be more than 59. So we wanted that response to be less than or equal to 59. So you will see there is a dot, and then there is the less than sign, and then there's an equal sign, then there's 59. So a dot means this question. So this question, according to KoBo, they use it, is represented by a dot. So this expression here means this question, the response to this question should be less than or equal to 59. And if you see this, the second one, we wanted it to be between 6 and 59. So then this question should be more than or equal to 6, and it should be more than or equal to less than or equal to 59. So, and then if you want, the next one is, you have the first one is constraint, the next one is the constraint messages. So if, for example, you do a constraint, you want to tell the enumerators, give them a message of why it is an error. For example, the first one, the error was they cannot select more than 3 options because you're limiting their selection to 3. So then they'll know, okay, then they'll reduce. If they were selecting 4, they'll do the 3, something like that. And here we used another message. Here was error, here's answer out of range. So it depends on the type of questions. And then relevance. Relevant is, those are the skipped logic and that you see like here. after this question of what are the two main sources of water, there was a response that said other. And then we said if other, specify. So here, your relevance here means this question can only appear if this question can is selected, this question selected can only appear if the response to this question, which is the main sources of water, is other. And then this question would come. So there are many other columns that you will add that will then that as you're building your form. So I did create another form that I wanted to walk you through, which is to maybe show what I'm explaining more clearly. Let me do that. Okay, let me open that, and then I can show you what meaning. Maybe before I do that, let me do this actually. So the thing is when you cancel this. Okay, so when you build your form outside in Excel, you will then, when you're ready, you will then go to here. So here, when we started it last time, last weekend, we started building our form from scratch. And that is a good way to do, even though you want to use Excel form. It's easier to start the basics, the framework, that skeleton of the Excel format by doing this. So it's advisable to really like start this unless you like have a flat form or like some template that you want to use. But it's a very good practice that you start with this and then later download and then continue building your form in this. So now I have one that I built. I wanted first to show you, go reverse. I want to show you how the form looks, then go backwards and see how we actually build it the way it's looking. So in this case, we are starting with uploading an XLS form. So you click on SL form and it asks you either drag it or you click on this and browse. All right, so I just like browse. There's this form that I've created for the training today. Let me upload that. So you just click on it and you say open. It will upload. It's uploading file now. Okay, so it will still ask you about the details of the project. So this is KoBo training for today. You can say, okay, we can. And data camp part 2, you can add more description here if you want, if you're like a project. And then the sector, there are many sectors here. You just like scroll around and see where the one that aligns with yours. Maybe let's see health example, and then the country. So I think KoBo needs this information for their own internal use. South Sudan here, and that's it. So then you create your form. Yeah. So we'll say successfully updated. So it is successful. Form is there. So now you want to see what is in the form, you just go. You can still, after uploading, using Excel, you can still continue to do edits in Form Builder. So you can still actually, okay. Let me see that. Okay. Doing translation. I don't have any translation now. Okay, super. To show you this. Yeah. So this is you can still go to Form Builder and like try to change your form the way you want. But I wanted to show you what I did build. Then we can go back into how I came up with the forms. So you'll see here data, weekend data camp part 2. This is what we just wrote. Welcome to JSC weekend. And here it takes, this form will take the name of the enumerator. You may want to record the time the interview has started. This will help you monitor. And then you may want to create a consent section here, where then they'll read this out to the enumerator, I mean to the respondent, the consent. So my name is da da da. So last time we said you can actually, if you put your name, Kamish, for example, you say my name is Kamish, and then you can continue with part of the consent. Like we did pull that there. Then you would ask the respondent, could you spare some time, whether it's 50 minutes, 60, 1 hour, 2 hours. If consent is not given, is a no, right? Then your interview ends. You're not going to continue with your interview. If the consent is given, yes, then it brings all these other questions that you have built in to your form. So just to go through some examples, you like the date when you did your interview, and the state, maybe it is a Central Equatorial State. Okay, your project was in Terkeka, and this is a female, married, between the ages of 30 to, so this is, you can do, like in this case, they already categorize the age groups, but you can just ask, and then let's say they write, they enter the age you want. Are you the head of the household? Yes. Then you ask here, this is asking household composition. How many males? Then here you enter the number. You enter 8. You must enter number between 0 to 5 only. So for this, there was a constraint there. Then you go into 4, he accepts. Okay, super. 3, 1. So this is like your form now. The enumerator is filling that you have developed. And then you can ask them how many total number of people in the household. Maybe you say 5. Then here is the number is not correct. Check. So the number that you wanted to check, probably that they still, the number that they've given in terms of the number of males, females of the different age groups, matches what they know of the total number of their household. So in this case, this doesn't match. That means you may ask them again, the numerator, are you sure this is the number of people you have in your household? So this is like a check that you can build in these cases, right? Just to ensure that the numbers are correct, like 2 layers of questioning. And then under 5, you can also do the same, like if they say, oh, 25, you like say, I check. So it gives you those kind of things that you can build in. All right. So here is like, what are the sources of water? The sources of household income, I mean, sources of household income. Here is you cannot choose more than 3 choices. Here they were choosing 4. So if you can unchoose one, it will allow stuff like that. So if they do other, for example, then the other appears. How many goats do you have? This is just a number. Then this is what we had, part of what we have done, which is, if you see this blue colored thing, that means it is a roster group. So that means the question will continue. So if this is James, for example, then there's what is the age of James, what is the sex of James. If you enter information of James, maybe you have Peter, then you add also Peter here, stuff like that. Then this is question on in the past 2 weeks. Was your child who is between this age sick? So if it asks yes or no, do not know, for example, these are some of the questions. So if they ask yes, for example, this one pops up. So this was like a skip logic. If they say no, it doesn't come up. So if you say yes, is what was the disease? Maybe you say diarrhea. If you say diarrhea is during the diarrhea episode, what did you do? You may say increase breastfeeding, and then you may say, I did nothing. So if you say increase breastfeeding and nothing, you say you cannot choose nothing with another option. So that means if you say nothing, it should only be one option, that option only. So that means you check the enumerators, because such sort of data later on will be very hard to analyze. All right. So they may say, I go to the hospital, I increase breastfeeding, something like that. And if they say other, then they'll be able to, like, what is that other? Then they write. Maybe go to which um, uh, I don't know, something like that, right? So does the household have mosquito net? If you say yes, and like if yes, did you or any of your child between this month 0 to 59 sleep under the mosquito net? You may say yes. If you say no, or how did you get the mosquito net? Example. I think this should have been after this. After yes, yes, this is a yes. If it is a no, it asks you, if no, what was the reason? Why what could be the reason of not having mosquito net? If it was a no, then it gives you, did you sleep under a mosquito net? How did you get the mosquito net? Which is either gift, purchase, or something like that. I don't know. Then here is specify. Then here is the last, which is the GPS. If you know the address, that is the address that you know, you'll enter here and search. If sometimes you just use this and then it populates. So this is like you can build this outside and then you can then upload into KoBo. So I just want now, like you have seen the structure of sort of like the question and the different validations that are built in. I just want to now show you how that is built in, like the actual form, it looks like, given some of you have seen already in the previous, when we downloaded the one we built last week, you saw some of the columns, the number of columns. So I wanted just to show you how that compares to the one I've built already to save time. Okay, so this is the Excel form that I uploaded just now, and I did show you just now.
Kamish, there
Yes.
is a quick question here that
Yep.
what if the address is not known? How do you enter the GPS manually?
Good question. Usually it allows um, yeah. Okay. So usually this should allow, if you go here, and like it's saying you can see that it's writing detect current location. I don't know if you can see on my screen. It is saying detect current location. So like if you click here, I don't know if there's an issue with sometimes this format, like this option has some issues, but if you click here, usually it's supposed to then detect automatically where you are and populate this section. So but if you know where you can just use take maybe the map and pin it there. So this is SSD. Oops, where are we? Okay, maybe you
Yeah.
require jump. Yes, go ahead, Sule.
Thank you, Kamish. Rombek, I also want to add that this field is really expected to be automated because the primary goal for this in so many settings is data integrity. So we want the device to kind of pick that GPS automatically because if we have to make provisions for entering it manually, then it means that somebody can simply enter some predetermined like GPS coordinates, which is not something that we are hoping for. Again, you may realize that the outlook may be relatively different when you display this one on the KoBo app or on the ODK app. It will look relatively different. It will just simply ask you to click and then you click and simply pulls up the GPS coordinates and records automatically. We usually tell our participants when they go to the field that when picking GPS coordinates, in case you're conducting the interview inside, it's advisable for you to come and pick the GPS coordinates from outside, because from outside, like the satellites can be easily detected. But when you're inside, sometimes it would be very difficult for the device to detect the satellites. And when the device is not able to detect the satellites, then it would be very difficult to record the coordinates. Over.
Okay, super. Is that fine, Rumbek?
Yeah, it should be fine, but already there is kind of a constraint, like what Sule has said. Assuming the satellite doesn't pick, and you are doing a survey or conducting a research that is time bound. What if the
Mhm.
satellite doesn't pick and you do not have anything to record? What happens? Do you move forward to the next respondent and come back later, or what happens thereafter? Or is there a space for comments that, okay, 1, 2, 3 probably must have happened? Yeah, and that's one too. I don't know the functionality of the KoBo tool, if it has an inbuilt kind of connection in the tablet, or you need to have totally a different connection, say internet connection and that kind of thing. Thank you.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think that usually it picks, but also like if it is an old like smartphones and whatnot, like there are times where there are difficulties, yeah, in sort of like if it's not sort of like updated, the software of the phone is old, there are usually those difficulties with the getting these coordinates. But as Sule said, usually it's supposed to capture automatically. But if you trust completely your enumerators, and probably you want to like a school and something like this, and you know the coordinates, yes, there's option to enter. And actually, if you know the address, there's this option of entering even the place and the address, and you just search that. But like depends on sort of like your project, what you're doing, and also what sort of mechanisms you want to put. Sometimes this GPS is used as a mechanism to see that the enumerators are collecting the data, they're not filling the form from their rooms and under the tree or something like that. Yeah, I think by and large, this should work, but in some one or two instances, you may have some challenges. I think what to do is really dependent on you, whether you want to let them go ahead, if there are challenges, or you want them to come back at a later date to try again. But internet or no internet, I think KoBo does have a provision, like you can use it offline and online, so that's a good thing. But you won't be able to submit the data into the cloud until you have internet again. So if there's no internet completely, you may not be able to access the data. So, but if you can, like, for the moment that you're collecting the data, you may not necessarily have to have internet. But eventually you need internet to then like send the data to the cloud to be accessible from anywhere. Right. Okay. So yes, this is the form that I sort of like showed you guys. So as we see the standard sort of like the standard three columns here, which is the type of the question, the name, and where is like the label or something. In this case is English. Why is it English? Because KoBo has, you can add language, you can add another language there. So if, for example, here you want to add another language, then you can add sort of like the label, and that language there. So let's say you want to do, okay, let's say, you want to do like as actually language, right? You want to do your form, you want like then there's some section of your respondents who know English, but in some section maybe you know actually. And then you can then all these questions you need to translate them somewhere and then you can add them there. And then all these other things here as well needs to be both in English, and especially like the responses as well here needs to be both in English and also the other language. But this is something you're going to look at it on your own. But so these are the three main ones. But then you'll see that there are a lot of other additional columns here. This is a hint. We saw that there's a hint here that you can add. So like here, you see that question hint, question hint, question hint. So these are additional information that you want to give to the enumerators, for example. You can put in the question hint. So here, all right. So in this case, you may say maybe only surname or first name. You only want them to put first name. So you can add like a hint there, right? His name of respondent, but you only like a hint, like, oh, put only your first name, something like that. So this section is where you add any hints that you know, additional information that you do not want the question to be too long, and then you add just additional information to the enumerators to be aware of. And then this is the required column. Here is whether or not the question is mandatory. So false mean not mandatory. Yes or true. Okay, here you can use actually both. You can do either yes or true or false or no to be mandatory. So here is you used yes. This means all these questions where there's the yeses are mandatory. Where
Kemish,
yeah.
Benjamin is requesting that you come again with another language.
Oh, okay. So so adding language you can do. Oops. Okay. Save. Okay. So okay, we didn't see how to add language in the form builder. So maybe it's good to first show on the form builder and then you can go to the Excel form. So you'll see that the language is here now is English. So if you want to add another language, you can then say manage translation. You come to these three dots on the form. If you're building it on the form, three dots, and then you can come to here, and then gives you current languages. Is current language. The default one you're using is English. You can use any default as you want, French, Dinka, Nuer, Madi, whichever. And then you want to add language, then you can add your language here. There are language codes that you'll need to know, something that I was going to go to later, but languages are coded using some sort of an international coding format. So you'll then like look at the language that you want to use and you can use the code. But even without the code, you should be able to add the language. So let's say okay. So this you've added one language, which is here, and you can edit it the way you want. So Okay. So I think then here what you need to do is you see. uh, so here is usually where you paste your translation. It's usually good to translate the everything outside, and then like welcome, and you just write it in the language, the name, um, yeah. Then you can save. There's the next page, there's the next page, there's the next page. After finishing, you then save, right? So you'll have like this is the original and this is the new language. Um, then you'll save. Okay. So when you launch your thingy, you see there's a choose language here, where you can toggle between this and that. All right. So yes, don't mind about what I've written, but yeah, when you do it rightly, you see the language there now, the question in the different language. This is the English, stuff like that. So this is how you like sort of like add the new language into using this form builder. When you're using this for Excel form, you then need to add the new column for the language, whichever new language that you want. So this was English, the original uh, language, then you need to have in the new language that you want. All right. Then you change everything here in the new language. And then you come to the choices and also you see English here. So you need another column for choices in that new language as well. All right, I didn't want to mix up this with the language, but that is like sort of how you do it. So I want to leave that to you guys. Like you get something you can go through it on your own. Okay. So this hint is that and the required and the constraint. So this is where all your sort of like your constraints would go, and then the message, yeah, like you can the order of putting these columns doesn't really matter. Sorry. So you can bring these calculations here, you can take this there, you can like doesn't matter as long as it is there. So and you know that like this is for the what. So that is the key thing. So the constraints, for example, here we had some constraints here we say the number of people in the household 65 above years old male, then there is an integer. So our constraint here is that the response to this should not be more than 5. You saw that when I put 6, was it 6 or 7? It said your number must be between this and that. So this is how you then put the constraint that this question should be less than or equal to 5. The way we put it under here, where we went to some validation and then we went and looked for those mathematical symbols. So here you just put this question should be less than or equal to 5, for example, like that. So this is sort of like the same. The second thing that you should pay attention to under the course, let's go one by one. Constraint, for example, you see that after getting the total number of the household, there was a calculation that you didn't see actually, but there's a calculation in the background where then we had this number that came up when we wrote some number. It was like error. This was like check again, right? So So you may want to check again using this calculation. So the calculation here is that you want to get the household composition. Like, and we say that the calculation do not show last week, but they're in the background. But you can show them if you want using either a note or something. But this is a good check usually that you can do to confirm some numbers. But so one of it is like you can, because then you're asking a number of household members of different age groups. This is very important. Sometimes if you want to do your other analysis later, you want to break it down into different age groups. But again, at the end, you want to validate that this actual number is the number of households in that present, or the number that the respondent knows they are, just to check. So here you can do the calculation where you're adding. Here we have a calculation column here where you're adding sort of these four together. And we said when you're adding, it's just a simple addition. When you want to add the response to this, you pick. Okay. We said that you pick whatever is here under the data column. This one. This is the name of the actual data point that you, or the variable that you have. And in this case, we have it here. I say that when you're using this form, you can manipulate this the way you want. Instead of having very long data name, you can shorten it. You can just say question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you can use it the way you want, and this is very easy to then use. So in this case, this question and this and this and this are represented by this. These are the data name. So that's why we are just adding here question 6 plus question 7 plus question 8 plus question 9, like that, because we are using this. Whatever is here is what enters here in between these curly brackets. Okay, so you see now how easy it is when you simply using this, and then you can like shorten some of this to like question the way you want. All right. So then you want to check this, that this number, you may want to say, okay, you want to get the total number of households who are there, which is an integer. You may ask them, is this number correct, or is this number the number of your household members, right? So the number that you want that person to say, or the one you want to confirm with her, should be equivalent to the calculation here, which you're not going to see. So that's why we are saying here that this answer here should be equivalent to the household composition, which is this name here. So this is some check that you can do, that this should match whatever they are telling you, right? So, and this is the same, this is for under 5. So for under 5, you see that here you're taking the number of under 5, 0 to 59 and 0 to 59 were male and female. So here the calculation would be you're only adding these two, which is question 10 and question 11 there. And you can check the same thing, just to check that what they are telling you is correct. So those are some of the additional things that you do. So we also saw that one of the questions when we asked what are the main sources of water, sources of income, sources of income. This is another one of the questions. And we saw that the question had a maximum of 3 options, that you can only select 3, right? So you cannot select more than that. So these are some of the you can control that using this constraint here. Okay, which is if you use that, if this is not selected, so if that response is not selected, if 1, which is here, let me use that one to show you. Okay, so for each, it's confusing also. For each of this question that you have here, which are multiple choice, you need to have the choices to that. So we did see that when you did have Jongole State or the county, when we chose Central Equatorial State, which is the question asking state, the next question was the county, which is here. So when we chose this under the state, the question of state, when we chose Jongole, the next question was the county, which is Terekeka. So, but your program probably could be in many counties. So that means the choices are many. There were other county states that we did not choose. So this comes here. So where you have many options, whether it is select one or select multiple, each of them you have to put the options into the next spreadsheet. So this is the choices sheet. And then it has three sort of three or four, whichever, but like you can have many more than that. But it has three, 1, 2, 3 columns. So the first column is the list name. That means is the name from here. To get the name from here, I'll show you where you get that name from. And then the second column is the name, which is the coding that you want to have for each of the responses. I don't, if you have done analysis before, you will see like in some analysis, you say male is coded as 0 and female is coded as 1, something like that. And that is data very important when you're doing a lot of this analysis and regression and whatnot, that you have to need to have numerical values as coding. So you can code this here, which makes your work later on very, very easy. So in this case, for example, we're saying under state, Central Equatoria is coded as 1, Northern Baragazal is coded as 2, and Jongole State is coded as 3. So that is what it means. And then when you got county, we know that the project is in Terekeka, in Awil East, Awil South, and Duke counties, right? So you'll want also to code this separately. You're saying, okay, Terekeka is coded as 1, Awil is coded as 2, Awil South 3, and Duke is 4. This is another thing that you can do, which is cascading some of your responses. This is something you can look at it. I don't want to confuse you, but you want to show that Terekeka is only applicable to Central Equatorial State. Awil East and Awil South is only applicable when Northern Bargazal is selected, which is 2-2. Duke is only applicable in Jongole, which is here. So they don't show, like for example, Terekeka won't show if the state is Northern Bargazal. So these are some of the other additional things that you can do. But these are the choices. So you will see that we shall have a question that will be asking whether the pregnant, the head of the household is pregnant, lactating, or neither. We shall have a question on marital status. So the choices of the marital status are here. Is either married, separated, widowed, like that. We had a choice of where they were selecting which age groups they belong. These are the age groups. And we coded these age groups differently. All right. So this coding here will be in the back end later on of KoBo. So for example, sex, it can be a male, female. Here we have coded that if sex is a male, it will be 0. If sex is a female, it will be 1, something like that. So all the choices that you will have on your survey, whether it is choose one or choose multiple, you need to have them here in the choices section. So you will have the list name, you will have the name, which is the actual coding that you will need, and then you will have the choice words that will show in the KoBo itself when the enumerator will be reading. So what the enumerator will see is actually column C when they are reading the questionnaire to the respondent or going through the questionnaire. So is column C. So column C is where you write it in a way that the enumerator can understand. Column A and B is something for you as a researcher that you want to design in a way that it later on makes your life easy. All right. So how do you link this survey sheet with this column sheet? This survey sheet and this column sheet are linked through this column A, part of column A, not all. Let me show you one. So when you come to sex, this question, row 19, which asks is sex of the respondent, the type of the question is here is they're going to select one. So it is select one question, which is here. But this select one question will be selected from this sex choice. Okay. So you'll have two words here. The first one is the type of the question. The second one is from where will this select that the choices, right? So in this case, they'll select it from sex choice. So if you didn't want to put the sex choice, the choice there, you can just say sex. That means when you come to the choices, the list should be labeled as sex. So in this case, where is sex choice is here. So since we have changed the choice, you just remove the choice and then remove this choice. Then we have sex. So when you put in KoBo will look at sex and see, okay, sex has two options. Sex is either 0 or 1, which is either female or male or female. So like that. So the next one is you go to, say, for example, select 1. And this is if female, are they pregnant or lactating? So that is a question talking about the sex of the head of the household. So in this case, you want to select one of the options here. If female, which is either pregnant, lactating, or they are neither lactating or pregnant. So the connecting point is this PLW choice. The PLW choice is what connects this survey section with the choice section. So the PLW choice is here. The PLW choice has 3 options. So either pregnant, lactating, or neither. So all of them should have on the list name, they should have the same, what is this? The same type choice. All right, so then that is PLW choice, PLW choice, PLW choice. So PLW choice has 3 options, with either pregnant, coded as 1, lactating, coded as 2, neither, coded as 3. So all like that. So you go to the next one, it is a status, marital status choice. This is age category choice. And then there are questions where it is a yes, no. You're going to have a lot of questions on yes, no. So you can code what do you want yes to be and what do you want no to be. So a yes, no, you want to code no as 0, you want to code yes as 1. So everywhere where you have a yes, no question, you can just say select 1, yes, no. This yes, no has an underscore, you see there. It is 1 word. It is not 2 words. So this is 1 word. You can do it, you can put it anything. You can put it without an underscore. Yes, no, like this. So if you decide to do like this, or you can give it anything, you can say zebra, right? So as a researcher, you know that this zebra is a yes, no choice. So when you go here, you'll just say what is linking with this to that is the zebra. So here is zebra and zebra. So it depends. It doesn't need to be anything related to it. So anything that makes you understand later on when you're doing the analysis. When you say zebra and you give me your data set, I'll be confused, right? So, but if you say yes, no, later on, if you give me your data set, I can easily know that, maybe this question was asking a yes, no response, right? Which is easy. So that is the only reason why you want to do something close to your sort of question. All right, so let's go back to that. So this has to be yes, no, so that it corresponds to that, what we saw. So that is the same concept for all. You'll see here that you have select multiple, and the second connector is the income source choice. This is 1 word with underscore all through. You don't leave space. So when you come here to income source choice, you will find the choices. Income source choice, you will have like 7, 8 options, which is not reliable source, salaried, casual laborer, crop farming, animal husbandry, business, remittances, other. So these are all choices for this question here. Question 30, column 36, question 14. is what are your main sources of household income. Okay, so that is where what I wanted to do. Then I think coming back to some of the, so this is the role of this part, really. This is the role of this part, is to put all the choices from here. And the choice, what connects this to this is this. So it is, you first do indicate what type of question it is, whether it is select one, select multiple, and then you add the connector. This is select multiple. The connector is income source choice. That means they are able to select more than one options. Select one here means that they only select one. And then what is connecting them is a sex choice, stuff like that. Then this is select one. What is connect is the yes, no. So it pulls information from the yes, no choices, which is, I think we saw it something here. All right. I think our time is almost getting there. So I wanted to show
Yes,
you that. Go ahead. Yes.
as you transition to another demonstration, there are about 3 questions in the chat box. One is around cascading, or if that is the right term to use. The participant put an example, say, you select a country out of a list of countries, and then so for example, when I select South Sudan, I want to see the counties and Payam's South Sudan. If I select Uganda, I want to see districts to Uganda. So how do you do that, especially on Excel? That's one. And then 2 is when a questionnaire is developed in Excel, do we use the skip logic or validation in Excel or after uploading the questionnaire into KoBo? And then the last question is, there is a part that I didn't understand, transferring data to Excel data, transferring KoBo data to Excel data. Is there any mean of transferring data from KoBo to Excel data apart from downloading KoBo data to Excel? Can you please have a slide show on that? Over.
Did you say, or maybe I didn't get I wanted to start with the last one.
Okay. So the last
Second.
one, the last one is asking about whether there is a way of transferring data from KoBo to Excel apart from downloading.
It's interesting. I don't know.
Like when you build your question from scratch in KoBo, how else? Yeah.
I don't know that.
HP,
If there's a
what's your name? I would simply say that that is actually fun in itself, but also as a researcher, you do not want to make your life very difficult. Let's go by the set norms, and we tend to get the best out of it. So just download in Excel format, and you would see everything really build. I think that's what I can say on that, Kemish, if you have any additions.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but I'm not sure. There is a way. Like maybe it is there that I'm not aware of, but yeah, I think the common is, I think what people we do is just to build and then to download. I don't know, like maybe would there be a need not to download? I don't know, but yeah, I'm not aware. But this is a good question. Yeah, something to think about. Okay, the second one, Sule, you're saying how to cascade. I think the cascading thing is this one, as you said. So is that you put the D category, and I think if you want to add another one, then you do like you're saying if you want Payam from here, for example, is that what you said? Payam?
I think the participant wants to just know how you can build that cascading in Excel. Say, for example, if you select a given payam, and then all the questions are related to that particular payam, something of that kind. Yeah, which is exactly what you're showing.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I think you then add another category here. Let me see, you can say, add an
Just
M category.
feel free to jump in case I didn't represent your question so well.
See, let me just try if I get the question by giving this example. Let me see. Oops, okay. Sorry. So if you say, I don't know, under county, yes, Payam. I don't know if Payam's in this location, but let's assume 1, 2, 3. So these are all options of Payam. And let's say we have Payam. These are just random names. Just don't mind me about this. Okay, so if these are the payams that you probably want, so so you see like how you did here under the states, this these are the category, like this indicates which state this comes from. This county is under, so it will be 1. This means it's under this Central Equatoria. 2 means it's under Northern border, like that. So if you want to add a payam, which is under this M column, you also indicate, if, for example, if Alek is in Terkeka, then Terkeka here is 1. Yeah, Terkeka is 1, so Alek is 1. And if Amok is also Terkeka is 1, something like that. And then if Buluk is in, say, Awil East, it will be 2. Buluk is 2. And then Munuki, if, for example, is in Awil South, will be 3. And then if Adlabara is in Duke County, it will be 4, something like that. So then, like here is when you select Terkeka, these 2 will show. If you select Awil, this one will show. If you select Awil South, Awil East here, Awil South, this one will show. If you select Duke, this one will show. So you add another category here, which links this one to this one.
Okay,
You
Sam,
can
does that sound fine, Sam? Okay, great. Yeah, you know, you can always practice, and if you ever get a challenge, you can get in touch. Yeah, super.
Okay. Okay. What did I want to say again? So, so this one I think is usually is very good when this constraint here, and this constraint is what are your main sources of household income. So in most cases, you'll have a lot of questions where, let's say sources of income, for example, where is that here? So you'll have a lot of questions where you have none, for example, or you have a question where I don't know, or not applicable, or something like that. Those sort of category of question where if the respondent selects that and they select another question, it becomes very difficult for you to interpret, right? So for example, here is if they say no reliable source of income, and they select this is a multiple selecting question. This is a multiple options. So if they select, for example, this one, and then they select two and select three, how will you analyze this? It becomes difficult, unless you go back to the enumerator. And what do you mean? That you selected casual laborer, you selected salaried employee, men, and then you selected no reliable source. So in most cases, you want to control for this sort of mistakes early on, that when they select, say, no reliable thing, they cannot select anything else, right? So that sort of thing is very important. But if they select other things, they can select, depending on whether you want to restrict the number of selections or you want to say it's open. You can select the number you want, as much as you want, until if you want to select all the remaining five, six, seven, or you want to limit also to say you can select any other thing up to three, up to a maximum of three, but you cannot select this with other choices, something like that. So those constraints are usually very, very important to ensure your data quality. And then you then get like options that are very hard to interpret. And this is the syntax that you use in KoBo. Is that you just like can copy this and like paste it somewhere and just change things really. You say you cannot, which is not selected, you cannot select one. One in this case is here. We are using this name, as we said, the coding name. This is what you use. You cannot select one, which is not reliable source. And if, so here is, you cannot select one and another selection that is more than one. So like if you select one option, this is one option, you cannot select more than one option after selecting this. So this is what this means. And the total number of your selection, we saw this last time, that if you want to count your selected number of questions, you want to restrict it to 3. And the total number of your selection should not exceed 3. So these are two sort of constraints in one, that you are first putting this one, which is you cannot select number 1, which is the no reliable income source, when you're selecting more than one options, right? Like with another option. And in addition, you cannot select more than 3 choices. So if you don't want this to be there, you say, well, you can select any number you want, you can just remove that, right? But this sort of constraints are usually very, very like good when you're collecting, especially a lot of data. Or after collecting data, it's very hard to go back to the numerator to explain. You add this there. So we saw this when I was opening. The same thing here. Here is like the diarrhea options. The diarrhea option is like, during this diarrhea episode, what did you do? What did you do? And then what are the choices for the diarrhea? For the diarrhea question, we have diarrhea treatment choice. We have, what did you do? There's the option, the first one is did nothing. The second one is continue to breastfeed. The third one is increase breastfeeding or giving food. The fourth is give salt water. Fifth, go to hospital, go to a facility. The other one is other and specify. So in this sort of question, you want them to choose many. Maybe somebody has increased the frequency of breastfeeding, they went to the hospital, they are giving salt water, they can select that. But once they say nothing, they cannot say nothing plus I went to the hospital, but you already said nothing, right? So this becomes very confusing. So in these cases, you want to say if they select this 0, they cannot select anything else, stuff like that. So this is the second one here. And in this case, you're not limiting the number of selections to maybe 3 or 2, like the one we did there. So this is another way of doing that you want to control for mistakes early on. Will be very helpful for you as a researcher. And what other things? So I think the other thing that you need to, how you code these names when you're doing that, usually you may need to say, because you're going to develop like a code book, 95, you can say 95 is for other, there are ways where you have, maybe I do not know, you can say 99. If there are some question where you have do not know, or there are other options that then like so some of those ones you need to define already what you're going to use, because this is going to be very helpful when you're doing your analysis. So in this case, like everywhere where you're having other is going to be 95, because in some cases, some people, when they're developing the tool, because here they do it chronologically. If they start like 1, 2, 3, 4, then they say five here is other. It's going to be very difficult later on, because here you'll say if other here is 5, coded as 5. For example, here, if you do chronological, other here will be coded as 8, for example, right? So there are those issues that you're going to run into at the later stages. For these categories of questions, you need to define early on, like do not know here is 99, right? So other is 95. So wherever there is a do not know, or wherever there is other, you are going to use that specific code all through, whether not chronological. So those are some of the things that you need to pay attention to very, very early on, and it's going to save you a ton of time when you're cleaning your data and doing your analysis. I think I want to pause. I don't know, Sule. I want to pause there and then maybe like show a bit how to you move forward if we have time, or but also if there's no time. Like after you build, how do you import? You imported it last time. You already know. Then this is what you do. You just import this. You save it somewhere and then just like import it into KoBo, right? You can import this into KoBo straight away. There's also a way you can check it online. I think I don't. There's a link. You can check it first before you import it into KoBo if there are any mistakes. Let me just check if it's there. Online check KoBo test or something like that. I think should have. So there's an online ODK test where you can. Oops, okay, it's not there, but you can do it yourself. You can check and then like upload. So after you have loaded to KoBo, voila, you're ready to do your data collection. That's it. Language, you want to add language, you add here. Then collecting data, what do you do? Maybe you can talk about that if you have a few more minutes, but just like a flavor, direction here and
Yes.
there, then you can do
Yeah,
stuff.
Kamish, we have about 15 minutes.
Okay.
In that 15 minutes, we also have some question here from Chan, who is asking if you could demonstrate skip logic where question display depends on response from one more response. Chan or Gadbel, do you mean developing skip logic on Excel or directly in KoBo? You could speak to this. You kindly unmute. Chan, are you able to?
Oh, yeah, Chen, if you are able to, but the skip logic is here under the relevant.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can I add, Kamish?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me very well. The question there, I mean that, for instance, if you want to add a skip logic in a question that depend on the response from more than one response from a single question, or it could be from multiple questions that you can do that in XLS, not actually in the form builder. I want to see that in XLS. And I do also have another question up there. Not sure if you have seen that. The question is asking whether you can still demonstrate how to code the questions where you want to attach a media, like mostly a photo, a video, or audio. You want to attach that to a question and you want to display that when you are speaking to a respondent, and want to see how you can code that as well in XLS. Just if you can take note of those and then you can respond to me later. Then I can move on with other questions. The other question is looking at the capability of the KoBo Collect in handling case management, mostly the longitudinal kind of study, where if you want to come back to the same survey on another time, maybe in the future, and you want to see that whether there was any changes in the data that you have collected in the past, so that you can still update the information in the same form. Because my understanding is that if you are at the moment doing the cross-sectional study where you just come fill the survey form, submit it on the system, not sure if you can be able to go back to the same questionnaire and you can update the information. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the presentation from Kamish and all the response and guidance coming from Sule. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Abel. Appreciate these are great questions. Some of them I can show you now. Others, I think I'll just give you direction and you can go and research. Which one do you want to start with? The relevant is where you do your skip logic. And see this one. And I think if you see here, we have a lot of them. So all this, for example, like for example, this says that this question will display if this is selected. If one from this question where consent is the name is selected. So if you go to where consent is the name, for example, here is consent, and it is saying if one is selected, then this question will display. So then I think what you need to do is say, what is one? So this one means select one, yes, no. So the choices will be under the yes, no. So if you go under yes, no, it's yes, no. One is a yes. So for example, this relevance here means that if yes is selected under this question here, where consent is it, then this question will appear. So if you want to say this question will only appear if yes is under here is selected, and say maybe only one of the states is selected. If you want to like restrict your question to one state, let's see, maybe example would be Northern Baragazal. Northern Baragazal is coded as 2. Then here you just add an, and then the same thing here. Just like I don't want to write. You just copy this. So you want this question to appear if the consent is a yes and it is Northern Baragazal which is selected. And the name of this state is also state. which is here. Copy this here and replace with where this consent is. And we want only Northern Gargazal, which is coded as 2. So then this question will only disappear now, will appear now if this is selected and Northern Barghazal is selected under the state. So it won't appear if otherwise it won't appear. So this is how you would maybe add maybe multiple questions, or if here you want maybe Northern Barghazal and say Central Equatoria, then you say this 2 and then maybe 3 like that. But if you also, you can do also multiple questions, but you connect them with and. If you want either or, you can, I mean, one of them, you can just say or, right? So it's just like those mathematical, the syntax that you use in every. So you can, if it is used and, that means both of them need to be met. If you use or, means one of them only needs to be met. So you can connect those, you can add a third one, a fourth one, whichever. That. Question on adding image. So that is media. So you'll need to add another column here for media. And then you'll add your question and attach your media. So for media, you need to first go here. I think I won't go into that. But you need to go to settings and then attach your media here first. You will attach your media here. You will upload your media, and later on, like the name of the media would match. So I'll leave this to you, and it will take some time, but you'll figure it out. The third one is, you said, what is that? Yes. Case follow-up. So unfortunately, no. KoBo, it doesn't have that capability yet. I don't know. Yeah, but the only other provision that it has now is that you can be able to pull, which I've also left it here for you guys. You're going to be able to pull data, pulling data from a CSV if you want to, like, sort of like follow up. But this is for specific defined variables that you want. You can attach a CSV and you can pull, but to do a case follow-up, it's not. The other tool that I know does that is Comcare. So if your project is sort of like you want to do case follow-up of specific households or clinical cases, I think sort of KoBo may not be the right thing for you. Yeah, there are many other things there, I think, including Comcare, that you can use. I don't know if that is helpful. Another person who has other ideas can be able to supplement. Super. Okay, I want to wrap up this for today, and I don't know if there's any urgent thing. Okay. So then collecting data, you just go to, let me see, I just want to show you collecting. Okay. Yeah, to collect data, you need to first do this thing called deployment. So you have to deploy your that means you make it live. You deploy your tool. There's an icon that is going to show you where you deploy your tool, and then you can be able to collect data, and data can be collected using the web form. That means you just have a link. You can collect it from in a browser. Just the browser, you can collect your data. And that is very good, especially if you're just sending a survey to maybe the health cluster or nutrition cluster, whichever cluster people like. Can you complete this link and something experience or something like that? KoBo Collect is usually very good if you like using enumerators, going say to Fangak to collect your data. Maybe they don't know, they cannot carry computers, and and that becomes very difficult. And I think because phones are really small to do browser, then it is good to do through the app. So it depends on really what you want, and then This, if like is Juba-based level, if people have access to internet and computers, you can just do web, for example. So yeah, so those are the two options of data collection. And it has a provision of online, offline, which is usually the preferred. There are settings you can do where you can only collect online or only offline, something like that. But there are those, this is a preferred option. You can just copy and share the link, and then people can start data collection. This is sort of like the process of doing it. When you're doing the KoBo collect, you first have to download definitely, and unfortunately only function in Android. I'm not yet sure it is in Apple iOS, but maybe but I'm not sure. The last time I checked, it was still Android, so that is a limitation as well. But yeah, then you have to download, and then you sort of like have to sign up with your details like here as well, to like sign up. The same way that when you download any app, you need to sign up. So you have to also sign up, but you use your details that you use for your. This has now changed to the global server, and then the OCHA server is now. I think this is the EU server now. Yeah, I think this is the EU server, the global server. They changed the names a bit. So then data collection, once you're already there to do data collection, then I think you just follow these processes. I think we shall share these slides where you get the form, you send and finalize the form. I mean, you fill the form and then like send and finalize, sort of like not in order, but this is the steps that you follow. Like you have to get the form from the clouds first, and then you can now fill the form. And after filling the form, you finalize and send. Okay, and then let me just show you here, maybe easier. So this is the one that we did now. Okay, so you have to deploy. If you know you're satisfied, you have to deploy. Even though you're not satisfied, so a deployed form. The form has been deployed. If you notice that you can redeploy again. So if you make any changes, you go and say, well, no, you say, well, maybe you want to change the spelling, and you say, okay, this is not only the first name. Maybe you want both names. You have to make the changes. You save it. Now, that change will not be reflected yet until you redeploy the form. So any changes that you make, you have to redeploy the form. So now if you redeploy the form, your changes will be captured. So usually this is the options that you can use, and the preferred is the online, offline. This is usually default. You can really choose and pick whichever meets your needs better. Then if you want, you just copy the link here. So if I copy the link now, let me paste to you guys. You should be able to collect some data. Try. There, okay, you should be able to collect some data and send. And what else? Sure. Okay. So this is where you'll see your data. Nothing has come yet, but this is where you'll see your data and manage your data from here. You can do some quick reports and some galleries, and you can download your data here. And you can see sort of like the distribution of where your data is coming from once things start coming. And then under that, so this is for building, which we have already done. The data section is here. Summary gives you sort of summary of your project. In this case, it tells us how many questions we have, who is the owner, updated last updates. Then submissions, if you start having submissions, gives you information here. Under the settings, you have the most important thing, yeah, if media you add there, but sharing, like how do you want to share your projects with other people? So in case you're working in a team, one person will start, and then you can be able to add other people using their username. You search for them using their username. But you need to be in the same server as we talked about last time, whether you're in the global server or you are now in the EU sort of EU server. So if you're across cross server, you cannot be able to be in the same project. So what you do is just when you want to add, yes, Rombek.
Yes. Thank you, Kenneth, for this wonderful presentation. I posted my questions on the chat box, but I think maybe you didn't see it or you're gonna come for it, but I'm afraid because our time is up, so I feel I should now raise my hand and ask. Well, just three or two questions. I just want to find where I posted. Yeah. After successfully doing the data collection, and you have found the data, their responses, and that how do you then do the data analysis? Which page do you go to do the data analysis so that you generate your results for decision making and conclusion of why the study was conducted? That's one. That's one. Two, is it possible that you can do the regression analysis, for instance, within the same KoBo toolbox? And if yes, can you maybe show us the commands or a dialog box where you can run the commands and generate responses? And yeah, how does that how does that happen? And perhaps yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And in case it doesn't show that option, then it's okay, totally fine, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that probably is the next thing. Good questions, but KoBo doesn't really do detailed analysis other than it will show you okay. It will show you yeah. It will show you if you go to when you start and you do this, it will give you some I don't want to show you one of my real data, but okay. But it will show you where like you have somebody has sent information? No, okay, nothing. Awesome. We don't have info yet. Okay. But you will have, if somebody could send something would be awesome. I'll send the link. Are you able to access it? No. I think you should be able to access it. Okay, now it is accessible.
Okay, sorry, Kemish. I think there are two links. So yours should be accessible. Colleagues, you note that there are two links. I apologize for the post-training survey. I think there were some issues around restrictions before, but that has been clarified, that has been rectified now. And then also Kemish had shared this link that I've just also posted. Kindly check if it is accessible, the one for collecting data.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Sule. Yeah, there should be some summaries that you would see under here, but I think unless we have something, but yeah, I think it doesn't. It's just showing you how many people have submitted, how many variables are there. If it is like sex, what is a female, male, based on the the questions that you have. I think additional analysis, as you said, maybe you want to do regression or specific 2 by 2 tables, whatnot. Those are things you need to do it yourself, and you can use outside of KoBo. KoBo now doesn't. KoBo stops at that. So the next level is now KoBo cannot help you. It's now you as a researcher, or you want to use Excel, you want to use other softwares. It's now up to you. Unfortunately, yeah. Maybe, but that is something that Data analysis, data cleaning is something we'll be tackling in the upcoming sessions. Yeah, and then I think will be posted once that is there. So I think for this, yes, you'd be able to share with colleagues, and then you can like put their username here, and then if they are in the same cloud, it should be able to appear really from the system, and then you can grant them whichever access that you want. There are different levels of access here. If someone wants someone to do management of the whole project, that means they can delete also the project data and whatnot, which is risky, but you can give them sort of levels that you want them to have. They can just be viewers of the project, the form, they view, they don't do anything. They can be able to edit the form. You can be able to add submissions. This is mostly edit submissions. These are mostly like the data collectors because they need to add submissions, and you maybe want them to edit as well. Then you may hold the validation of submissions yourself, and also deletion is like yourself, but you can give them the rights the way you feel, how you want to do it. But this gives you control of the project. Yeah, I think that's generally what you will need. And then once the data start coming, you can be able to download from here into, I think, gives you Excel and CS and other formats, I think. I don't know how many formats are there, but it gives you Excel, at least the commonest. And then you can be able to download out export the data. And then once you export the data, it's now outside of KoBo. So access denied. I don't know what this. Okay. So once it is there, yeah, you can be able to do that. So maybe I pause here, I think, and know if there's any question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kemish. Colleagues, are there any additional questions? And also
Yes.
kindly confirm if the
Go-
post-survey link is now working.
My
Amalna
side is
is
working, Sule. Just maybe
One,
a question or an ask. Two or three things. One, personally, I didn't find the last week recording and the slides, and probably also this week. If you people can, if just a general comment or request, if people can share the slides for both weeks or and the recordings, I think that will serve purposes as some of us will want to keep on practicing and all that because we have not been taking notes. That's one or two. The third one is if there is gonna be another training of such, because you will note from your presentation with the questions asked, I think there's a necessity that maybe some of those questions are addressed through also another session and make proper examples and demonstration if your time permits or if your schedule is okay. So that's just my ask for now. But thank you so much. Everything has been very, very wonderful. And thanks for your professionalism in doing the presentation and all that. I think if someone is very serious, I think one would have grasped the basics and be able to do something because it's not just a one go. It needs practice. This is like econometrics. So it's not easy just to grab it and start doing it. You need to practice. Otherwise, thank you from my side.
okay. Thank you so much, Rombek. And colleagues, we apologize if you have not got the recording for the last session. It appears like you may have missed to register. Kindly register today so that we can send the previous recording and the recording for today, and you'd be able to get it. Yeah, thank you. And yes, Rombek, we have taken all your comments very seriously. These ones, including the ones that also came through the survey. We will look through them one by one. And the good news is that most of the questions asked are gearing towards analysis. And so our next topic is data analysis using Excel. Excel is really a very handy tool. So let's look out for the announcement of that course in our in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then we get it. Yeah. Thank you so much, colleagues. Please endeavor
Yes.
to complete the survey.
Okay. Thank you for the training. I really appreciate this kind of training. And I look forward also for another opportunity again. Like you mentioned, the main focus at the moment is on data analysis. So that's why we still look for another opportunity to have this training. And I also wanted to say this email that I sent to you, Sule and Kemis. Maybe if you could respond also to that, that will be good, so that we can communicate with you on this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Benjamin. We responded to the email, but I think there were some technicalities, so we should be able to get that response to you immediately after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Joseph, you're asking that the link is asking for your KoBo tool credentials. Kemish, are you able to respond to that on the KoBo tool, I assume?
Let me. You should be able to use. Okay, you should be able to use this without if you don't have an account. Yeah. Okay. Super. You
Yeah,
should be
another
able to use
question,
this right
Ismail.
now. Mm.
Ismail, hello.
Yes, please proceed. Yes, Rombek.
Yeah, just I didn't understand. What do you mean by if you didn't maybe you didn't register, that's why one didn't get the recording. Was there any procedure for registration again, or just clarify on that?
No, not really. So it's possible that you recorded your email, but maybe there was a mistake from our side that we didn't capture it well. But also there were colleagues who attended the last session, but they forgot to register in the post-training survey. And we only reached out to those who completed the post-training survey. So one of those, yeah, but whichever, kindly complete the survey and you should be able to get both recordings. Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's okay. But I did both. The first one I did actually, just for
Ah,
purposes of record. Yeah,
okay.
so I should
Okay.
not be
Sorry.
having issues now.
I
Yeah.
think I think we just missed it. So you should be able to get this time around. And feel free to write back to us in case you don't get it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay, colleagues, let's complete the survey. We're about 28 or 29. I want to see I've just seen 14. If anybody is facing challenges clicking on the link, please let us know so that we fix it before we get out of here. Otherwise, we thank you very much for attending today's session. We hope that these two sessions have changed your ability to work with KoBo, and we hope that with the continuous practice, you're going to become an expert in this and be very helpful to your organization or to your private work. It gives us um, a lot of satisfaction when we see that your ability improves. Chris, you're saying that access denied? Yes, please feel free to leave and see you next time. Chris, kindly confirm. I can share the link again. Okay, colleagues, thank you all. As I said again, thank you all for attending today. I hope you can now access the link without any problem. With all that, I want to wish you a very good weekend and see you again in our next set of trainings.